Hey YouTube, it's Ashley the therapist, your favorite Detroit therapist. Back with the second video. So this is gonna be the video where we kind of get into the stuff. Okay, so I'm trying to do this once a week. This is pretty hard because my schedule is so busy and crazy packed. But I'm trying to stick to this commitment. I'm trying to hopefully build a community. Um, As you can see, my hair still ain't done. My lashes still ain't done. But listen, y'all, let me tell y'all about how my life is set up. Okay, because it be hard, okay? Like it's really hard. Like I'm trying to stay on track with everything. I'm running this business. I'm a single mother. My son's dad is in his life, but pretty consistently, but it's not on the same level as I am. I'm doing all the heavy work stuff in terms of co-parenting. Not to say that his dad is not doing a great job because he does his thing in his way, but anyway, so I got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm trying to fit this stuff in because I want to make it a priority. I want to be intentional about it, and I want to prioritize it. So I'm just doing the best I can. So anyway, I'm still trying to figure out how to edit stuff, so I might edit some of this to get to the nitty gritty of things. I'm hoping that this is still going to be authentic as possible, even with editing and cutting and things like that. So I'm doing the best I can. All right, so listen, I promise next time I think my lashes will be done. Um, Hopefully my eyebrows will be done. I'm just gonna give y'all something a little bit more to look at. I did get lighting. I did get a mic. I'm hoping y'all can hear this pretty well. And so we're upgrading little by little, taking this a step at a time. So anyway, this week's theme was something that I did not really want to get into right away because I didn't want this channel to start off too heavy. Um, but I couldn't get away from it. I'm spiritual, so I'm like, okay, God, give me a different theme. Like, I don't know that I should do this thing so early on and just starting this channel. I don't want it to be too gloomy, too dark, too heavy, but nothing else was coming to me other than this theme. And so the theme that I've noticed over the past week within my sessions and my clients is the idea of loss. And not just talking about grief. Well, grief and loss, but not just talking about death. Um, and hopefully I can say that on here without whatever the consequences are if you say things. But anyway, talking about loss. So that does not simply mean the passing of a person or a loved one. It also means loss of a job, loss of a relationship, loss of a material item that you love, loss of a home. Loss comes in a lot of different forms. And so, goodness, where this little piece of hair coming from? Let me try to edit that out. But loss comes in a lot of different forms. And so, when I'm connecting the themes of my clients to myself, um, it's time to get into the personal stories, right? So I got so many stories. I'm only about to be 35, so I'm not even 35 yet. I'll be 35 in January. But um, listen, I've been through some stuff. Some stuff would sound like a Lifetime movie, but we'll introduce it little by little. So anyway, when we're talking about loss, okay, I've gone through quite a bit of loss. One of the most significant forms of loss, aside from a loved one passing away, is like loss of relationships. I don't have a whole lot of experience with job loss. I did get laid off one time from a job that I didn't really care about. I was working part time while I was finishing my internship, I believe, when I was living in Missouri, but I wasn't hurt by that loss at all. Um, but that was like the loss of a job. So I've been through the loss of a job example, just not a whole lot of it. But when we talk about loss, man, that could be so heavy. Um, Especially when you're talking about like loss in terms of like loss of a relationship or the passing of a person that you love. So The ones that come to mind for me the most, the ones that really stick with me. Number one is the passing of my granddad. I'm trying not to use any names in this video. Now, if y'all just absolutely gotta have names to make these connections, let me know in the comments. But if it's not necessary, I want to just try my best not to use anybody's names. Okay. So anyway, my maternal granddad, my mom's dad, he passed away when I was a young adult in 2015. He played a huge part in raising me. He was older, but not super old. I think he was in his early 70s. And anyway, that was the closest loss to me. That was the toughest one. I've had some losses since then, but that was the first close one. That was hard. I'm not really a super sensitive person, but I definitely cried off of that one, and I ugly cried. Okay, at the funeral for sure. Anybody, even my closest friends and people that have known me for years, have never seen ugly cry. I wore sunglasses, like, because I just, even as a therapist, sometimes I struggle with being okay with my feelings. Sometimes, even though I'm relearning a lot of things as a therapist, there are still some things that are very deeply ingrained that is hard to get away from, such as hiding your feelings or not showing or not expressing your feelings. So anyway, that was an ugly cry moment. And when I think about loss, one of the major connections that I make in the challenges that I face with it is like the idea of ownership. Okay, let's unpack that a little bit. So when you say things like I lost my job, or I lost my granddad, or I lost my relationship, or I lost my husband, there's this idea of ownership in all of it, right? Like that relationship or that person or that job or that thing belongs to you. And in reality, the realization that I've come up with is that I don't think nothing belongs to us. No, I don't think anything belongs to us. Now, granted, I own this business, right? My therapy practice. It's my own business. I don't know that anybody could ever like take it away from me. But in this society and with our government, and if you don't pay for your LLC renewal and or your copyrights for your name, I don't know that you really own it if you don't go the legal route to say you own it. And even then, if you don't pay something or if you default on something, or then somebody could take it from you. So then is it ever really yours if somebody can take it from you? Kind of like how girls be about their man. If she could take my man, girl, he was never really mine to begin with. And I agree with that, by the way. But also I feel like I'm starting to learn that ownership is non-existent almost. We think something's ours. We think a person or a relationship or you know a job or anything is ours until it's not anymore, or until it's lost. Right? Like if I lose my necklace and somebody else picks it up and finds it, and I never find it again, and they now wear it every day, is it now their necklace? So anyway, I know that that's getting kind of deep and going down the rabbit hole, but that's the way that my therapist mind has begun to look at situations personally for myself. Now, in my sessions, I encourage people to really grieve those losses, meaning you have to you have to acknowledge the feelings around the loss. You cannot avoid those. You cannot ignore those. You got to acknowledge those feelings around the loss. It's sad and it's hard. to let go of something that you invested in or that you are connected to or that is valuable to you. And so that's valid, totally, right? Like having feelings about a loss is valid. However, I think that one of the main things that have been helpful for me is practicing letting things go, letting things, people, and all those things that we think we have ownership over, such as our relationships and our people and our things. We got to be okay with letting things go, you know. Um, oh, I'm trying to think if it's too soon to get into relationship drama stuff because I know whoever is listening to this or started to take a liking to me or is following me probably wants to know some of those personal relationship details and how I've navigated those. And I think honestly, I gotta save that for the next video. I promise you, I will get to it because I know y'all are gonna want to know. It's kind of crazy. But and this a lot of this stuff is before I became a therapist, and some of this stuff is after I became a therapist, and I wished I would have handled things differently. But I know now that I would handle things differently. At least I believe that I would if I were put back in the same situations. And so I'm gonna have to tell y'all some stuff that's a little bit embarrassing, and it's not my finest hour. Um, as a therapist, but mostly as a person, right? Because the whole idea of this is therapists are people too. Therapists are people too. Like we're just trying to navigate this life just like the rest of everybody, you know. So we're just doing the best we can. So um I promise I'm gonna bring that up in the very next video. So next week I'm gonna be talking about some relationship toxicity that I myself was engaged in the past. I'm gonna tell you all about a couple of personal relationships and the things that went down. So you gotta tune in. I'm trying to do this thing on Tuesdays. I was running behind today because of traffic, and I'm still kind of, pressed for time because my client will be coming in really soon, um, in a few minutes at the top of the hour. But so I'm trying to be present with you all, but also still keep in mind that time is always seemingly against us, or me in particular. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get to that stuff. But just this idea of loss, just kind of like circling back around, loss of relationships, loss of family bonds when people pass away, just grief. And grief does not always mean the passing away of somebody. It means to, lose something or someone or an idea of something, right? Because sometimes when people lose a job or lose a relationship, they're letting go of this idea of their future. So if you think about the idea of relationship, somebody you thought that you were gonna marry or like have have his babies, okay, like when you think about stuff like that, you have this whole idea for what you want your life to look like, and it don't pan out that way. That's a loss. That's a tough loss, and it's hard to let go of that. And that's the key is letting things and people go. Letting them go, meaning learn how to move forward without it or them. I know that's easier said than done. Trust me, I know. But letting go just means not holding on to. I'm not saying if your close loved one passes away, you don't hold on to the good memories of them or just the memories, period. But sometimes you have to. Uh-uh. Sometimes you have to learn to pick up the pieces and keep moving. You know. And one of the biggest things that I work with my clients on is about finding the balance, right? Being able to incorporate and process your feelings, cry it out, let it out, think about it, talk about it, dream about it, but also being able to intentionally keep going, just keep going. You know, remembering things in your life that are also important, that you also care about, and pour into that stuff, because those are the things that are still here that you haven't had to let go of. So identifying all those things, for me, what I do is I pour more into my friendships. I pour more into my other family relationships. I pour more into work if I still have it. Whatever I still have is what I want to remind myself of. There's a level of gratitude in that, but also a level of intentionality. Like I can direct my attention to all the things that I still have if we want to pretend that we got ownership of anything. So I don't know. I might be going on a tangent, but I'm just hoping that you all understand me in what I'm saying. My grandpa, man, he was the kindest guy people know. He had his issues. Listen, y'all, my before I was born, apparently my granddaddy was a different person. Okay, and I can't even comfortably put all the stuff on here that I've been told that he's done because it would kind of maybe like paint him out to be some guy that he's truly not. But what I've known from him, he was almost the perfect man. And he took care of us. He took care of my mom, even though she was grown as hell and was supposed to be in her own place. She stayed with them, with my grandpa and my grandma, way past 30s. And we did too. So anyway, um, if you want to know more details about how I deal with loss, or if you want to know specific examples, I'm telling you, I'm gonna get to a specific one in the very next video after this in regards to a romantic relationship. Actually, multiple romantic relationships, more than one, where I've had to somehow cope with the loss of them. Um, and the heartbreak, right? Heartbreak is a thing. Um, yeah, yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I'm gonna get to that in detail. So you'll learn some stuff about me, and I'm really trying to just keep this focused on me because I don't want to paint anybody else's story or anybody a picture of anybody else character wise. But I gotta tell it from my perspective. And if any of my exes take it personal or find these videos, feel free to get in the comments and say, hey, this ain't the way that really happened. Or this is my perspective. Because I believe in different perspectives for everybody. My perspective of any given situation might be totally different than my ex's perspectives. And actually, I'm sure they were. However, and we'll get to this later on too, perspectives and feelings do not justify toxic behavior. Okay, and I have to take accountability for my role in toxicity in different ways before I even realized that I was part of the problem in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to tell you how I've been part of the problem, okay, in my past. And it's probably maybe still sometimes now, but just trying to be more aware and intentional about not being toxic anymore. Yeah, I used to be toxic, believe it or not. And it's probably actually I know that there are quite a few therapists that are still toxic, even though they preach and teach every day. It none of the stuff matters if you don't apply it to yourself, and practice what you preach. You just being a hypocrite if you're not doing that. So anyway, talking about loss today, um, trying to put things into perspective for people going through the loss of a job, going through the passing away of somebody close, going through the loss of relationships, um, going through the loss of material things like a house or a car, people getting stuff repoed and the car then broke down and you can't drive it no more. Like, those are some difficult adjustments, right? And I can't even imagine the idea of losing your house. I'm a homeowner, and ooh, that's one of my big fears. Is not being able to pay that mortgage and those taxes. Um, Talking about real grown people stuff here. but uh, but yeah, no, I think that loss is difficult, and that's valid and that's fair. But I think that balance is important when navigating loss, and recognizing that the important thing is figuring out how to move forward, how to heal and move forward. You can't stay stuck. You can't stay stuck in that dark place that we get to when we go through loss. Not saying don't feel your feelings, but I'm saying you gotta have a balance. You have to have a balance. All right, y'all. I gotta get to my client, but the next video next week, I'm going to be going into detail about loss in terms of heartbreak. Okay, specifically my own experiences with it. So it's about to get a little heavy story time, y'all. I'm talking about fighting, cheating, um, cussing, lying. Therapists go through stuff. Yeah, they go through stuff too. And it be hard, okay? It be hard. So listen, I'm trying to find some kind of handle, some kind of Ashley the therapist from Detroit. Ashley the therapist are people too. I don't know. Y'all tell me what y'all think my handle should be. I really like Ashley the therapist from Detroit, but you tell me if that's stupid or too long, or uh, just not catchy enough. And if you come up with a better idea, leave it in the comments. And listen, I don't know how many subscribers I got right now. I know I at least got one new one. Um, Start interacting with me, y'all. I'm a person. Like, go ahead, drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you want to know about. Tell me what experiences you want to hear from me that I've gone through, or share the experiences that you've gone through. Because I'm telling you, it's about to get crazy. These videos are about to become more detailed. So interact with me. Let me know your thoughts. If this interests you, there's no shame in it. Like, if you're a therapist, if you're a person that goes to therapy, if you're a person who wants to start going to therapy, but y'all got feedback. Y'all know a thing or two. You know, share it if you feel comfortable. It's no pressure, but you know, put some comments in there. Let me know what you think about, what you want to know, what you want to hear, what stories you want to know about, what you think my handle should be, how you think I can broaden this community of therapists sharing more. Remember, the idea of this is authenticity and trying to be more open and less private and secretive, as the culture of therapy has encouraged us to do. I want to start tearing down these stigmas about therapists and how we're up here and everybody else is down here, whatever, because that's just not the case. Um, we're just people too, and trying to do our best, hopefully, because some of us as therapists are not. Some people be like, yeah, my friend a therapist and she did blah 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 blah. I said, and she a therapist? Okay. Like, I'm not saying we're supposed to have it all together, but some of us are more toxic than our clients, to be honest with you. And I'm just trying to do better. Listen, I'm just trying to be better, okay? So anyway, I may edit this video. I may just leave it like this. I'm gonna see what I can do. Um, and start interacting with me, y'all. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts. All right. See you next week.